Hello and welcome to this Employability Skills Programme session on Brainstorming and Pitching. My name is Nick Fannin from Bright Red Triangle, which is the Enterprise Hub at Edinburgh Napier University. I'm going to talk to you about how you and your team can quickly and efficiently come up with presentable solutions to tackle the challenge you've been given. First of all, though, I want to pause for a sense check. You will hopefully have been very busy this week working with your team, researching your challenge. Do you think you and your team are where you need to be at this point? Some of you will be, and some of you won't. Don't panic if you're not, for as we have said repeatedly, this is a complex and challenging process. Things don't always go to plan, and sometimes you just have to allow the story to emerge in its own time. It is important, though, to deal with your concerns. Use your team to help you. If the team are the problem, then talk to your tutor. Part of this programme is about helping you develop the strategies and confidence to deal with the challenges that you come up against. This session will be challenging as you will have to work with your team to make decisions in a very short space of time. You may find the process confusing or frustrating. You may end up arguing with your teammates. That's okay. Hopefully it's an indication that you all care. If you need to, then check the conflict resolution resources on your Moodle page. Remember also that if you don't like the result at the end of this session, you can do it again. Hopefully you and your team are starting to get a handle on your challenge and that the various pieces of the jigsaw are starting to come together. It can be overwhelming though. Sometimes the more information you gather, the more complex the problem appears. Remember to use the various tools in the ESP toolkit to help you make sense of your research. So far this week you've created your stakeholder map and started to connect with the relevant people and organisations in some way. You've developed empathy for your stakeholders through your research and now have a deeper understanding of the context within which you are working. You have created stakeholder personas and now have someone in mind when you think about the challenges that your stakeholders face, and more specifically about what they want or need. You will also have thought about good ideas and how they have to be desirable to your stakeholders, otherwise they will not be adopted. So finally we've reached the point where it's time for you to put all this together and come up with some ideas that can provide a solution to your problem. We call the process of coming up with new ideas in a group session brainstorming. Under more normal circumstances, we would do this with the team all together in a room. We'd probably use post-it notes and whiteboards or flip charts as our creative tools, and we'd be able to move about in order to get the creative juices flowing. Unfortunately, social distancing rules make this difficult, so you will have to think creatively about how you communicate and share ideas and co-create documents within your team. You can do this on Microsoft Teams or perhaps use Google Docs. For the more adventurous among you, there are lots of platforms out there that you can use to do this. Here are some tips on good brainstorming. The first bit of brainstorming should actually involve a bit of work on your own. Spend 5 minutes on your own trying to come up with as many ideas as you can. Don't think too deeply about it and don't edit yourself. No idea is too wild or too silly. We are looking for quantity, not quality at this stage. Write down short idea statements. We don't want essays, although stories are good. Try and use descriptive imagery to help others understand what you mean. For the purposes of this session, we're trying to keep things moving along, so 5 minutes might seem like not enough time, but creativity tends to work in short bursts, so most people don't need much more than 5 minutes to come up with their best ideas. If you don't get anything good within your team, well, you can always repeat the exercise at a time when you're feeling more creative. Sometimes a piece of cake or a glass of wine helps you to get in the right frame of mind. Once you have completed the exercise, you can then share the ideas with the rest of your team. You will probably find that some people have come up with similar ideas. Every person on the team should be able to make a contribution. Be encouraging and supportive. Look to build on the ideas of others. Spark off each other. An idea that seems silly can sometimes provide inspiration for somebody else and can lead to productive discussion. Often, if you combine more than one idea, you'll come up with something really interesting. Remember that we're moving fast here, so don't spend too much time on this. You'll have time later to repeat the exercise at a more leisurely pace if you want. The next thing we have to do is evaluate the ideas that you've come up with. How are you going to choose which is the best idea? While this is not the only way to make your decision, I would suggest that you use the following template. This is our How, Wow, Now, Chow grid. It's a 2x2 matrix that measures impact against the effort or resources required. Map your ideas onto this matrix and I'll explain a bit more about what it means. I'll start with the Chow quadrant. If your idea is potentially very difficult or expensive to do and will have little impact, then we can get rid of it immediately. Those ideas go straight in the bin. Next, we can look at the Now quadrant. If you think your idea will be easy to do, then it might be worth considering, but if the impact is going to be low, then it may not be a valuable use of your time and resources. The most tempting ideas are in the Wow quadrant, high impact and relatively easy to get off the ground. But before you jump at those, think about the ideas in the How quadrant. Those ideas are potentially high impact, and if you could find an easier way of doing them, then you might be onto something. Sometimes the How quadrant is a really interesting innovation space. Use the How, Wow, Now, Chow grid to cluster and combine your ideas. Discuss with your team, and this is the time to select your best idea. Remember that this is your best idea for now. You can repeat this exercise as many times as you like, and you will find that results improve the more you do it. Once you've selected an idea, then we want you to pitch it. Pitching is another part of the process through which you clarify your ideas and gather feedback. The more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more useful the feedback. We want you to create a 2-minute video explaining your idea using the structure here. We want to hear about the problem that you've identified and your solution to it. What are the benefits of this for your stakeholders? How will you make your solution happen and how will you sustain it? Think again about where good ideas come from. Remember that the work you've done on understanding the wants and needs of your stakeholders will help you to articulate the benefits of your solution. When it comes to feasibility and viability, think also about your team. Good teams, as we know, contain diversity. They also tend to contain these character types: the hipster, the hacker, and the hustler. The hipster is the person who intuitively understands what the stakeholder wants or needs. They're often good at telling stories, communicating the solution, and building relationships with your stakeholders. The hacker is usually the technological or operational leader, the person who can build the solution or make it happen. The hustler is usually the person who will find a way to sustain your idea. They will find the resources and figure out a business model that will support it. Remember to talk about who will do what in your pitch. So that's it. Good luck with your brainstorming and your pitching.